Hello, today I'm going to demonstrate how to format a schematic advanced part 2. So in the previous advanced video on this, I had a drawing which had one or two shades of brown on it. It was an aged drawing. And the technique that I used there was very good at eliminating the browning. But what happens if you've got a drawing, or in my case a photograph, that a guest had sent me, of a copy of the schematic that was pasted to his radio. What happens if that schematic or photo has many more than one or two shades of brown in it? So this is the extension of the advanced techniques I used for a very brown, various stages of browning. So the differences are, I want to keep this drawing in color mode. I don't want to go to grayscale yet. Copyrights, that's going to be the same as before. I'll refer you to the previous videos for that. And then here's the sequence that we're going to use, and I'll point out a couple of differences between the advanced and the advanced part 2. We're going to run the OpenView software, open file, rotate, crop. Those are described in the previous videos, and you can look at those if you need refreshing. One thing I'm not going to do on this one is I'm not going to resize it, resample it to a lower resolution. The upload requirements for the schematics and technical documents has a maximum of 7,000 pixels square and a maximum of 1 megabyte upload file size. So as long as your file is less than those, then let's upload that full size, and it gives us better resolution on the schematics in particular. You can zoom in and look at more detail. Wording is going to be clearer. Okay, on the decreasing the color depth, the previous versions I went down to 4. This one we're going to expand that to 16. So I'll have 16 blocks of colors that I can work the technique on. No dithering, grayscale imaging, no. We're going to keep it color. And then OK there. And we're going to run straight down to the palette, edit palette. And the technique is we're going to start double clicking on the lightest colors. And then we're going to replace it with the pure white block. And then we'll repeat this process while we're keeping an eye on the drawing itself, the schematic, to make sure we don't lose too much information when we eliminate those different colors, make them white. So we'll repeat that until we're done with that. Now the drawing, the file size is still going to be too large. So we're going to reduce the color depth back down to 4. And no dithering. This time we are going to make grayscale select. Get rid of the color components in the drawing. Click OK. And then the last step we'll do is we'll do a color correction. We'll do a contrast boost to make the lines come out a little blacker, a little harder. And we'll do that with a contrast of 77, a gamma correction of 0.46. These are the same numbers that we used in the previous videos. And like all these techniques I'm describing here, you can play with these numbers and then see if you get better results with your particular drawing. Then we're going to save this. That's S. And the technical drawing schematics, we want those in PNG format. So we'll select that. And then here's the format of the file name, the country, manufacturer, model, and what is it. The separator character is the same. It's the underscore here. So for the example I'm going to be running through here, it's going to be a Japanese, so it's Japan J underscore, Rinkan is the manufacturer, underscore, unknown 2 is the model name that we gave it in RM, underscore, and then the SCH1 for the schematic. Now when we're done with that, we're going to run I'm going to run Windows Paint program, or you could use any of your image editing software of your choice. But the general idea is here, we're going to use an eraser tool and then covering up the drawing defects here. Okay, so here let's look at the drawing that a guest sent me. Here it is here. We can see it's 4,000 by 3,000, so we're well within the 7,000 by 7,000. The file size is 3.4 megabytes. That's too large. Not surprising since this is a color photo. So OpenView can knock that down considerably. So let's go ahead and open up OpenView here. And let's open up that file. And I've already drilled down to the folder where this file is located, unknown 2. Okay, and here it is. Now let's take a look. We'll notice here's a blue back of the radio here, part of the radio. Schematic's been glued onto it, typical. And the part of the schematic was rubbed off or ripped off here at one time or another throughout the years. And somebody has gone in with a blue pen and marked up a couple of missing lines in the capacitor here. So we want to keep that information on the new schematic. Now, one minor thing I've noticed here, there's a slight tilt to the right here. We can straighten that out. We'll go to custom, find rotations, angle. Let's try -2 degrees, see what happens. Okay, that went too far. Now it's slanting up to the right. So we can use this button right here. That's an undo. And this will take you back to the previous image that you had up on the screen. So let's reduce that angle. Let's try -1/2. Okay, there it's moved it down a little bit more. Okay, that looks pretty good. We'll just go with that. Now let's crop it in to get rid of the a large part of that blue back there. And the only thing you want to do when you do the crop is you want to make sure you leave plenty of room on the sides here, so when you print it, the printer doesn't chop or have issues with that. So we'll leave a little room there, a little room up there, and those look good. All right, so let's do Control Y. Okay, now we've got a closer up image here. And the image is in pretty good shape, other than the browning and the various shades of browning that, and then this down here. So let's see what we can do to clean that up. So the first thing we want to do is we want to reduce the color depth. And we don't, instead of the normal 4 and the grayscale, we don't want grayscale. We want to expand this 4 so we'll have more to choose from to white out. So let's try 16. And again, all these steps, there's no fixed order that you do these things and a fixed number that you select. You might try different numbers based on the drawing that you have. Okay, there we can see that it had now put some different shades of tan in here, make it easier for us to pick those off. So let's go down here to Palette, Edit Palette. Okay, here's 16 of them. There's a black one here. We don't want to leave that one alone. And then these lighter ones are the ones out of these different shades. And we want to start picking those off and replacing those with white. So let's pick one here. That one's pretty light. Double click that. Here's the palette, and we're going to choose white. And you'll notice white for the RGB is 255. That's FF for that. That's pure white. So we're going to replace it. And there you can see some of the white here. That color tan was replaced with white. And here it is down here, all Fs, 255s for this one, which is highlighted. Let's pick another one here. This one, double click, white, good. And let's pick these two right next to the other white one here. Goes very quick when you do this. Okay, so quite a bit of it there. And here's a pretty light one here. Let's replace that with a white. All right, now this still looks really good. Looks a lot better than it did. Alright, and let's see, here's a lighter one here. White. Okay, now I'm going to click OK at this point. You notice there's no cancel button here. So if you go one step too far, you can't back it up one. This is the best drawing we have so far. So I'm going to click OK. What that means is when I go back in and do another edit palette change, if I go too far, I click OK on that. I can come back by using this undo arrow here and come back right to this version of it right here. All right, so let's go in and see if we can take care of some of these corner issues now. Okay, now what we can do, we don't know which one these are exactly. We can click down here on that area, and here it'll highlight that color. It's down there. Here it is in the corner, number 16. So let's try that one. Let's double click that. We'll replace it with the white. Now we want to start paying attention to the drawing here to make sure we're not going to lose too much information when we're replacing some of these tan colors. So here we go. Okay, I got a little bit lighter, I noticed, on some of the lettering here, but it's still very good. Took care of all this down here. So now we're down to these two areas up here. Now, if this area looked just like this one or was up here away from the schematic, I would stop right here, and I would go, and this was the schematic portion here was free and clear. I would go ahead and just stop right there and then use the eraser tools in the window paint or something like that and fix it up. Okay, we don't have that, so I'm going to click OK here. And let's go back down here. Okay, now let's try this again. Okay, so that shows up as this block right here. Let's try that. White. And pay attention to the drawing here. Okay, not too bad. That pretty well took care of a lot of it here. We've got one little area right here where I still have some intermixing of the tanning and this should say V1 1/2 12 DTA, just like this one right here, and you can kind of see it buried in there. Okay, this is probably going to be my last version, but we can go ahead and try it. So let's go here, and let's see. Here's one here, maybe a little lighter. Click it, and OK. Okay, I didn't really see a whole lot of difference there. Let's try this one. Looks like another brown one. Click it. Okay, okay, now looky here. So it took care of this issue up here completely. But look what I did to the drawing here. It really deteriorated all of this part of the schematic. So I would rather deal with this version, the last good version here, and then try to clean this up a little bit and still maintain the drawing here. Okay, so that's as far as we're going to get on using the OrphanView. So a couple things we need to do from here to reduce the file size now. That's still got 16 color depths on it. Let's move that back down to 4. And let's make it grayscale, get rid of all the color components that are remaining in that file. Okay, and then the last step we want to do is let's do a little contrast enhancement, and that's going to be in color corrections. And this is going to be, I'll move this out of the way a little bit. So we have our 77 on contrast, 0.46 gamma. Those are the standard values. You can play with these numbers and various different outcomes here and see what it does for you. I will just click OK here and keep an eye on this part of the drawing. See if from the black kind of pops out a little bit. There, it does. So I noticed an appreciable increase in the black-white contrast here. Okay, so that's a pretty good drawing right there. All right, so now let's do a final thing we're going to do is we're going to save that. And if you don't have PNG already, let's go down and select PNG here. Here's my RM directory for the uploading. And let's put the file name in here. It's J underscore rin. Okay. Whoops, backward there. Okay, rincan underscore unknown 2 underscore sch1. Okay, J rincan 2 sch1. Okay, so then we'll save that. All right, now let's go take a look at that file. Okay, here it is here. And so we're down to 4,000 by 2,500. So we're well within the 7,000 square. And these file sizes dropped appreciably, 267 kbytes. So what we need to do is we need to erase out all this black here. That was the blue, the dark blue. We went to a grayscale, it turned into black. Erase all that. There's some artifacts down here. And then try to fix this up as good as we can at V1 1/2. All right, so let's open that up. I got that open up in Paint, Windows Paint, and here it is. You can see the V1 and 1/2 looks like this one over here. Let's take care of the eraser here. Let's set it up. So I'm going to pick a rectangle shape, outline. No, I do want solid fill, but I don't want to use black. I want to use white. So I'll click on that. And then I just do a left mouse click and then drag. And what you don't want to do is when you do this, you don't want to obviously overwrite the schematic itself. So right up to the line there. Okay, and then let's go across here, take care of this one. All right, and then it just depends on how much time you want to spend trying to clean up this drawing here. I'll just spend just a minute or so here. But let's try to get a little V here, a little more obvious. And there's a 1 here. Okay. Like so. Okay. And you know, you can play with this as much as you want. And let's try to get this a little better. Like so. Okay, there's a 2, there's a hook right in here. So let's see if I can get a little spot in there. Maybe make that 2 come out a little better. Okay, and then let's put a little space here. Okay, that's not too bad. V1 1/2 12 DT8. And like I said, you can spend as little or as much time as you want. You know, clean up little specks and things that are in there. Alright, so let's work on this one here. And okay, so I'll just drag that down there. Let's see, that's good. A little speck here. These are really minor, but as long as I'm looking, I might as well fix them. Okay, and there's a little deal there, speck here, speck there, a couple of minor specks here. Okay, and then right here is where we're starting to show up the edge of the paper and the background of the blue background of the radio itself. So let's erase all that there. Make sure I didn't get this down here. Okay, that looks good. And then let's take care of this here. And you know, don't erase the 1K resistor value there. That's good. And then I think we're down to one last black piece right up here. Okay. And so that looks pretty good. Let's move that out a little bit. Alright, so you can see here. So that's not a bad drawing. That's readable, and you can work with that drawing. Alright, so let's save that. Okay, there. Okay, now let's take a look at it. Click. Alright, so we still have the same 4000 by 2500. Now the size went up to 533 kilobytes. So we're still well under the 1 meg requirement there. And to do a comparison, here was the one that came out of Irfan View, and then here's the erased version, corrected version. There, you can see that. So very nice. Okay, so that's all there is to the demonstration of how to format a schematic, advanced part 2.